Good evening, everybody. My name is Shane Pollin. I am the principal with PS Ventures, which stands for Passionate and Sustainable Ventures. And I'm here to give an update on the exciting Wheaton Gateway project. It's been a little bit, and we've made some great progress, and I look forward to sharing it with everybody. As a reminder, I'm going to run through a sort of a brief overview because everybody might not be familiar with our project, and I think it's important to understand who we are and what we're trying to build here. Wheaton Gateway actually represents a partnership, and we have representatives of our partnership team here tonight, but it's a partnership of the Duffy companies and PS Ventures, Wilco, and the Housing Opportunities Commission. Wilco, the Duffy companies, and PS are private developers who have partnered with the Housing Opportunities Commission, whose mission it is to provide and support affordable housing in Montgomery County. I am here representing PS Ventures. PS Ventures might be a name that's new to a lot of folks here, but I'm not new. You will recognize me as being with the project from the beginning. But just as of the beginning of the pandemic, after spending 17 years working with my family at the Duffy companies, PS Ventures is now, if you will, stepped out of the shadows and is leading the development here. I've been leading the development efforts of the Duffy companies for many years, and so it's a seamless transition to work with my family in partnership along with Wilco and HOC. Also with us today representing Wilco is Bob Mazuka. Representing HOC is Marcus Urban. We've got a couple members of the PS Ventures team, of my team here, Goyer Roberts and Will Combs, who helped prepare some of the materials that you're going to see tonight. And then in our efforts to also make sure that we're being open and communicative with the community, we have worked with Mayor Warner Public Relations, and we have Krista Brick and Christina Warner here with Christine Warner with Mayor Warner. So we've got a whole crowd here tonight, and I think that does speak to the importance of the project and how we are really excited to make sure that everybody's on the same page with what we're doing and understands what we're trying to accomplish. The important thing about this partnership is that there's a commonality between the partners in that all the partners are developers and owners. We're long-term holders, so this is not a project that's going to be constructed and then sold as so many projects are. Not that there's a problem fundamentally with the construction and sale of projects. It's just that we've found that long-term holders tend to view real estate a little bit differently. And that difference has led to primarily our focus as a group on quality and durability. And my focus and the team's emphasis on sustainability. We don't build code minimum buildings. That's not our effort as a group. We believe that we can build buildings that are better for people, both the residents and occupants and users of the project, but also those residents and community members around our projects, that we can build buildings that are better for the planet than code minimum buildings, and that we can do all of this profitably. And I say profitably, it's two of the three partners are for-profit entities. And so we bring that perspective that we have to try to make these projects pencil, particularly in these difficult environments. But of course, HOC is not a for-profit entity and has a mission towards affordability. Again, we're not the creators of this, what's called the triple bottom line approach to development, but the people, planet, profit, and then sustainable development is here at the center of all that. I won't go into the details of this, but there are a lot of reasons why we build better than code minimum. The number one question that we get when we're building better than code minimum is how much more does it cost? And we just think that that's not the right question. The question is it worth it? And particularly for our residents, these focuses on comfort, durability, quality, lower energy costs are making these really quality buildings that we're bringing into the community of which these buildings will become a part. You do not build better than code minimum buildings doing things the same old way that we've done for decades. It takes teamwork, trying new and different approaches to build these buildings. And Wheaton Gateway is no different. We've got a team here that's been assembled from all over, all bringing in their knowledge and skill and trying to build what are really different buildings that will be ahead of their time. Our focus on sustainability is really rooted in our approach and in our pursuit of what's called passive house certification. in the United States, there are several ways to build above code minimum. The most common one that people know of is probably LEED. That's leadership in energy and environmental design. The most rigorous, generally recognized standard in the world is Passive House. And that is the type of building that we are trying to build here in Wheaton. It's a different way of building, and these buildings will consume materially less energy. They will be more comfortable. They will be more resilient. You see stories lately about buildings in environments that are too hot, and the buildings get too hot and people get uncomfortable and die in the Pacific Northwest. Buildings that when it gets too cold, we saw what happened in Texas, where you lose power, it gets cold, people are uncomfortable, people can die. We are trying to build buildings that can help address the various weather that we're seeing out there. This is, while it's new to Montgomery County, there's a sister project we're working on in Hillendale. And Pete, good to see you here on another in another venue. We worked a lot with Pete over in White Oak, in that area where the sister project is located. But it might be relatively new, and we might be bringing it here for the first time to Montgomery County. But these buildings are coming, and codes are increasingly requiring this type of building. In fact, New York City, many of you might have read recently, banned the use of natural gas coming to new buildings in New York City. And that's all part of this effort to decarbonize and to move to all electric buildings. And that's the type of building that we're building here. This is also, it's not just us who wants to do this. Montgomery County, of course, declared a climate emergency. And as part of that climate emergency, I served as a technical advisor on a technical working group. So I'm familiar with what the county would like to do and go in this direction. It's to build more efficient buildings like what we're programming in Wheaton Gateway, to build all electric buildings on our way towards zero net energy, which are buildings that on an annual basis produce as much as they consume. And that's the direction that we're working on here, which brings us to Wheaton Gateway. Our vision for Wheaton Gateway is a vibrant mixed use, mixed income project built to the highest levels of sustainability. I mentioned Passive House. We're going to try to achieve a Passive House certification. That's through FIAS, the Passive House Institute US. We're going to try to achieve LEED, that other more common above code minimum standard in the United States that stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. And of course, Energy Star, that logo that you see on refrigerators and appliances, that could be applied to entire units, entire homes. And that is our intent here in Wheaton. We're going to have some commercial space concentrated on the first floor. It's a challenging environment right now, as we might hear later this evening, for retail. Nonetheless, we're hoping to include some within our overall program. And we'll have a combination of primarily a below grade, but some above grade parking. Now to some graphics. Wheaton Gateway is, of course, located at the prominent intersection of Veers Mill Road and University Boulevard, at the location, the former Mattress Warehouse, the Ambassador Hotel, Lindsay Ford's location, just to put people in context. And again, it's an assemblage of multiple properties. So this is not an easy, simple box that we're working with. The property has some characteristics to it that we'll get into. One of them is that it's got disparate zoning. I mean, we're crossing multiple zoning lines. Each of those lines has different zoning envelopes, if you will, building envelopes, which are roughly illustrated here. The site also has some challenges with respect to access, right? We've got long, unbroken medians that you see along both our University and Veers Mill frontages. That means that there are no left turns in a lot of areas. I show you these challenges because they are the reason behind a lot of the design that you see. Much of the design is meant to address the challenges. And that's why these are foundational items that everyone really should understand what we're trying to address. But that means that we have creative solutions so we can get in and make designated write-in, write-outs to the project. We've also got some grade, which is, again, a challenge, but an opportunity for the project. So we've got, as you can see, from the intersection of University and Veers Mill Road to the intersection of East Avenue and Kensington Boulevard, over a 40-foot fall across that. Even across the sector plan called for Center Spine Road, We've got about a 20-foot fall across there. You see this now falling across the Lindsay Ford property. If you look up there, you see a retaining wall and ramps that come down, even ramping in one of those buildings. So our solution to this has been to come up with a very creative and functional circulatory plan that affords folks the ability to, one, in the pickup and drop off of loading items, to come in below grade to take advantage of that grade, but to also afford circulation within the project, given that we don't want folks necessarily going into the communities to turn around or going out on Veers Mill to do U-turns or University to do U-turns. So we've afforded within the project the ability for vehicles to come from different origins and to depart to different destinations within the project's boundaries. So what have we been up to since we last spoke? I think we were here, I think it was, on Zoom for a pre-sketch plan submission meeting. And what we did is we got feedback from staff. We were wrestling with the impact of the pandemic. And we were evaluating, as we heard, the possibility of the Cultural Arts Center seeking a home in Wheaton. And so all of these things, we went to the drawing board to see how we could improve Wheaton Gateway, and we believe we have. As to this last item, the Cultural Arts Center, I think we've heard a little bit about it. We don't know ultimately whether or where that project is destined to fall, but we would welcome it at Wheaton Gateway. We spent a lot of time and energy to try to determine whether we could make our project feasible for a cultural arts center, and we believe we have. And we know that the county is diligently looking at various options, and we think that we are the best location for such a center. And some of the changes that you'll see to the plan are really meant to, they were found during the investigation of the Cultural Arts Center. You will not see a Cultural Arts Center designed into our plans. But behind the scenes, we've looked to see, because if it doesn't fit, then it can't come to us. And we wanted to be available for the county. And so to the degree that anyone is supportive of locating the Cultural Arts Center in Wheaton Gateway, our team would love to have them. And I think that's about all I can say on that. After we took all of this information and all these new studies in December, we submitted a revised sketch plan. What were the highlights of the plan? We have a much improved, we think, public open space. So we always were proud of our public open space, but it was more of a shared space previously, where we envisioned a space that would be open to vehicles for certain times, closed down for events and festivals, for example, but more sort of a common space. And what we've worked towards is more of a pedestrian or people-centered space that's not shared with the vehicles. As we've discussed, we thought it was very important to continue to have a pickup and drop off and turnaround internally, again, so that those movements aren't happening out in the community or on the public roads. But we were able to, with some hard work by the team and creativity, as you'll see, to relocate our turnaround into our parking structure, which allowed us to open up some more space. And we've consolidated the entrances. We had two entrances. I'll show you those off of Kensington. They were split off of Kensington. It was really one, but two entrances into the garage. We've consolidated those to one entry into a single entrance. And we've changed the way we've described our phasing. So here's the latest sketch plan, the revised sketch plan. I'm going to draw your attention to the three areas that are here marked on the plan. I will show you that we've got the commercial space still programmed on the corner, but with the revised sketch plan, you'll see that we're changing how we're describing sections and phases. And the first phase, the temporal phase, the timing of it, will be the two buildings on the north side here on the left side of your screen would be programmed to come forward together as a first phase of development. That changes for a variety of reasons, including our investigation of the Cultural Arts Center, which would, if we were fortunate enough to get it, the Cultural Arts Center would occupy the space that you see here on the north side of our central drive aisle. Again, we're not showing it because we don't know the status of that project, and until anyone would be able to proceed and let us know, we're just proceeding with the plan as it is. But you will notice that the program now has a pickup and drop off underneath the building, right? You can see that there's an easy exit out onto Veers Mill Road. So you can envision, for example, if there was a use here that had people, that it would be able to accommodate that use. And then let's go through the elements of the plan. Here's our parking structure. There was always a parking structure, but you can see that the pickup and drop off area is now internal to the garage. The public space here is now no longer shared. So let's go through the pieces. When we first started, I'm just highlighting in here in green now the sections of the open space that were really exclusive, if you will, to pedestrians. Previously, it was a shared space. It actually came down to the south here a little bit and tucked behind. That was at concept, at sketch. We heard from folks, the community and staff, that we wanted a larger space dedicated to pedestrians and not shared. And with, again, the hard work of the team, and really, I have to commend the team, Brandon Nicholson, Mike Lowe, right, who are working to try to listen and see how can we solve the problems. We worked out a way to slide that turnaround within the deck, and you can see the impact on the plan. It is a much more significant space that's not shared. Again, we think that the old space would work, and there's plenty of precedent for it. It's just a different kind of space. Here you can see the pickup and drop off area, the turnaround, that critical turnaround to let you come back down and come in and out, or to come in from Veers, turn around and come back out. It is now relocated within the parking structure in the south side of the central drive aisle. We made a consolidation at Kensington. So again, at concept, it was a two-way entry and exit. Working with our neighbors, right, expressed interest in making that primarily an entrance, which we did at the initial sketch. And then with feedback from staff and MCDOT, they expressed interest in preparing a turnaround. So for vehicles who came to the end of the street and wanted to come back out, we have that. And then we consolidated what were the two different entrances to the parking facility into a single entrance. I mentioned that we are redescribing more clearly the sections and phasing. We do that, right, because it was getting confusing when we say, well, in the first phase, in the first sort of area of development, in the first phase, in the timing, as opposed to timing of the second phase temporally. Now we've changed it to try to be more clear, to talk about areas of land being sections. So we have a section 1, section 2, which are in the first phase, meaning the elements that we would be developing first in time, and that we would then be developing a second phase, which has the building in section 3. For those who are curious, what we envision in that intermediate phase is an interim space that's a multifunction space. So we anticipated that it would be used in conjunction with whatever uses might be here. If it was a grocer or some sort, maybe it would be a market that they could have on weekends. If it was an art center, you could see arts displays out on the interim space. But it is a open public space that's multifunctional, adjacent to parking, adjacent to the pickup and drop off in that interim plan. So we've got that plan has also been turned in. We have worked with staff, and again, I'm really impressed with our team in trying to help create visuals. Staff explained that there were some questions from the community, including some neighbors who wanted to know that we were compliant with the heights and setbacks that are requisite as part of this plan. So we've tried to put together some new imagery. to help express what the project is going to look like in its environment, including the compatibility plane, right? The 45-degree plane that comes back that is intended to provide compatibility to those homes that are adjacent to us. There's a handful of homes. I remember Kensington is actually a dead end street, actually on both ends right now. But we want to try to work to ensure compatibility, which is why you're actually seeing a stepping of the buildings here, working with staff to make it a more a smaller scale residential feel as you come down the street, as you come down east. And I think that, again, the team has done a good job, and I think that we're able to show the compatibility. And so here, I think for those who are familiar with East, it's not the most attractive space right now. It's got a warehouse building with parking, auto repair. I think it's even some auto body repair. And here we see we're trying to create a residential street, right, that comes through here to be more compatible with what's existing across the street than arguably the intense commercial use that's there today. In terms of our project timeline, we've been part of an active engagement process with the community, with our friends and teammates at Mayor Warner. We held that and really worked vigorously starting in 2019. The demolition of the buildings were completed in 2020. We've been working on our entitlements, which involve a voluntary concept plan. That was something that the team did not need to engage in, but we chose to solicit feedback during that process. That led to the sketch plan, both the initial plan and now a newly improved revised plan. We hope to have that plan approved here in April. We've been requesting extensions to afford us the ability to finish these drawings and coordinate. We're hoping not to need any more extensions, and that following the approval of the sketch plan, we are working with HOC to procure the team, the architect, the civil engineer, the land use council, who will help carry the project through the remainder of the entitlement process. That we hope that will be in process in 2022, working probably in completion in early 22, permitting through 22, completing in 23, and hopefully being able to start construction in 23 or maybe in early 24. Again, the market is a little volatile right now, but we're just working through the project process as best we can. So what happens next, right, is that this new plan is under review by the county planners. They will generate a staff report. There will be a hearing scheduled before the planning board, and we will seek approval of the sketch plan. And then after the ultimate approval of the sketch plan, the next milestone will be that preliminary plan of subdivision and site plan approval. Those plans will, again, whether we would do it one way or another, as was evidenced by our voluntary really coming multiple times, including asking to come this evening to provide the update. But there's a requisite meeting prior to those site plan and subdivision plan submissions. So we will be back again. Again, we've got a lot of comments about the building, sort of that they're blue. They don't have, they don't have windows. They don't have doors. These are really, as a planner called it today, sugar cubes, is how he referred to it. These are basic building shapes for massing, height, density, and that sort. And so we will get to more detail about elevations at that next step.